Yeah, so half an hour or so in, and we've gone a mile plus. And we're going by some farms here in south central PA. And you can see in the distance the sun is just coming up. You can hear the birds. It's a beautiful morning to be out in the woods. Not very much blooming at this time of year, but there's a little bit, so I'll try to capture what there is today, at least while we're at the lower elevations where stuff is leafing out. This is us almost up the first climb of the day. I think we're heading up and over that ridge in the distance here shortly. But for now, it's just downhill through the open grasslands. We are partway up our last climb of today's hike and of this section hike. It is proven to be a legitimate climb here, but it has brought us up high enough finally to have some views. Out over the Pennsylvania countryside.
Sticking to it.
In fact, his tail's rattling.
Yeah, he's shaking it.
Yeah. Trying to act like he's a rattlesnake. So here were our first two king snakes of the trip that we saw a good shot of. Right, this is the trail. Those are Dennis's poles, and here's this little king snake.
About 2.5, 3 feet long.
Yeah, and there's another one that looks like he's already run off completely.
Buried in the leaves over there.
So we're back in the part of the Pennsylvania Trail that is very rocky. Lake starts up ahead of me a ways just because it's a little bit easier for me to hike kind of without somebody around me when all these rocks, because I get too distracted. I really have to concentrate on this part of the trail lest I should fall down and bust my head like I did last year. So we're done with the climbing. So there's no elevation gain issue, but we're definitely into the Rocksylvania part of this dang trail. It is not as much fun as the dirt part of the trail, that's for sure, but it has gotten really slow for me in the past couple of miles since we cleared that last summit. So I'll share some of this with you as long as I can do that safely, and I'll let you see what this is like. And this little section's pretty typical, so there's a set of rocks I have to step over and then not trip on. And then there's a little smooth section that's 10 or 15 feet long, and then there's another set of little sharp rocks. And You can kind of see they're just jutting up out of the ground in every which direction, and they're just short enough to step over and just tall enough to trip on. And so I've kind of let Late Start walk on ahead, and I'm just going to take my time picking my way through these things. But the only trick, I think, in Pennsylvania is just you have to slow down. And we've been hauling today. We've been doing really well. We were up at probably 2 miles an hour for most of the hike. And Late Start may still be moving at that pace, but I have definitely had to downshift on this part of it. This is my last day for this particular segment hike on the Appalachian Trail. And we have made it to the Cove Mountain Shelter, which is down kind of the steep 0.3 of a mile side trail, but it's a good looking newer shelter. There's a spring down the hill quite a bit. Fortunately, we don't need water. I've been hanging out here for like the last half an hour or so. This is the Cove Mountain Shelter. See Late Start in there kind of taking a nap. We've had lunch. And we're just relaxing. It's about 12:30, so we got a ways. We only have like 3 miles to go, so we got plenty of time to get there. Here's the hostel, kind of outdoorsy. Welcome, 2026 hikers.
Stock exchange returners in.
Want to check them out, or? Okay. And then there's the famous Doyle Hotel ahead, where we are going to meet our trail angel. And this is downtown. It is 2:45. We started hiking at 6:45. We hiked 13.8 miles. Some of which was pretty easy, and some of which was a full-on 5 on the Rocksylvania score of 10. What do you think, Late Start? Good hike?
It was a good hike. It was a good section.
Yeah, it was.
Pennsylvania looked kind of just in the company.
Yeah, I gotta say, I think the AT in Pennsylvania gets a bad rap. Now, we've only hiked a good part of it, but still, the southern half of it gets a bad rap. That's a pretty good hike. And here we go.